How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back with another video. Remember, if you like my content, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what you do with this deck. This is the first thoughts on Tayam. Let me know down below what you think you do with Tayam, and if you're going to build Tayam, and if there's any cool tech that you're putting into your deck that I didn't mention. And if there's any ideas that I mentioned that you are going to use, that'd be great to know. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon. If you really want to support the channel, you can talk with all the guys that are featured in my videos. And yeah, we're just going to hop into this. So, Tayam, first thoughts. First thing I'm going to talk about is counters, because Tayam likes counters on creatures, so that way you can be activated as much as possible. Doubling Season is a good way to just double up the counters. It even doubles like the vigilance counters that it gives, which is pretty weird but cool. You can use something like Renata, so ETB, get an extra counter. It's a +1/+1 counter, so also a different type of counter, which, I don't know, bigger's good. You don't need double vigilance, but +1/+1 and vigilance is solid. Death's Presence, that's a good one to get a lot of counters around. Cathar's Crusade is a great way to get counters. It's another really strong card in the deck. Evolution Sage and other proliferate options are great because of the fact that it just keeps counters on your creatures, so that way you can remove them. Undying and Persist. This commander can take advantage of this really, really well, because a creature with Undying or Persist will die, come back with whichever counter on it, and then next time it would die, if it has that counter on it, it would stay dead, but you can just continue to remove those counters so they stay in play. So something like Machias or Cauldron of Souls are very, very powerful in this deck. Same thing with other just creatures with Persist or Undying, like Kitchen Finks. Strong in the deck. It should be good cards to put into the deck, and probably you should put some into the deck. Cumulative Upkeep. This is a little interesting. There's not any really good cards to use for this deck because you can only remove them from creatures, but it's an interesting interaction that you can actually remove the cumulative upkeep counters from your creature with cumulative upkeep. Just a cool interaction I wanted to mention. And this stuff like Wall Roots or Devoted Druid, both of those add mana to your mana pool by putting -1/-1 counters on them. And Devoted Druid in particular is pretty good because of the fact that it can untap itself. So yeah, and if you're going to run Devoted Druid, you might as well run Vizier of Remedies, so that way you can just make the infinite mana and go off with Tayam. Then there's some combos that you can throw into this deck. The first one I found was you could use Deep Forest Hermit, Animate Dead or Necromancy, and Ashnod's Altar or Phyrexian Altar, and you can make mana's infinite mana actually, and you can mill your entire deck, make an infinite number of squirrels, and just throw in something like Helix Pinnacle or Concordant Crossroads. That way you can finish the game during that turn. And both of those can be brought back with Tayam's ability. You could also do something with Weapon Enthusiast. Weapon Enthusiast plus Ashnod's Altar can by itself create infinite mana and mill your deck infinitely. That one's really good for Helix Pinnacle because of the fact that it's not generating extra dudes. You can also use stuff with like the new Moth commander. The new Moth. Luminous Moth. That plus Ashnod's Altar or Phyrexian Altar, specifically Ashnod's Altar. And if you have 3 other creatures in play, you can infinitely mill yourself because you can remove the flying counters, so that way the creature does not have flying anymore, and just cycle them over and over and over again. Then you can do there's just some good cards that you can throw into this deck too. Stuff like Illusionist Bracers, that way you can just dig twice as deep and get 2 permanents. Lion's Eye Diamond is just disgusting in this deck because you can get it back very easily. I mean, it just makes, if you can consistently get counters on stuff, you can make infinite mana, there's a chance. But otherwise, I mean, it just nets you a ton of mana. Seaborn Muse, just a good card in this deck because of the fact that your commander has an activated ability. The more mana you have, the more times you can activate it, better off you are. Gave, whatever you want to call him. He just is disgusting in his deck, and it seems like the type of deck that he would just fall into an infinite combo for, which he does all the time. Like, you can just throw him and a few cards at the wall and suddenly it's an infinite combo. And this seems like the perfect deck for him. He just fits very, very well into it. He creates Saprolings, which would get counters on them. He can remove counters and add counters and sack creatures. He's very, very good in the deck and should be an automatic include no matter what. And then stuff like Unearth or Sun Titan, because of the fact that they target the 3 CMC or lower stuff, and that's to recur it, and that's really what your deck is based around, recurring the small things. So those are all great cards in the deck. And one other little thing I wanted to talk about here. So this deck Tayam can be a good commander for a really bad gameplay, but it's very fun, and I have a deck for it back here. Tayam can make an interesting Thallid commander, because Thallids put a lot of counters on each other, and this can really benefit off all those counters. So yeah, that's what I got for Tayam. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember, comment down below. Let me know what you're going to do with the Tayam. If you're going to build Tayam, throw it into a deck. It fits into Carador pretty well. It fits into Gave. Fits into a lot of things. It can be it can take over the helm of a lot of decks, like Carador decks. And it just seems pretty good. So yeah, subscribe, like the video. Check me out on Patreon if you really want to support the channel. Check me out on Twitter. Do all that jazz, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.